In Korea, even the simplest meals include a jjigae. Koreans have a unique culinary culture of sitting around a table together and sharing a pot of jjigae. Cooked with little water, jjigae has become a staple of everyday Korean meal. Find out more about what jjigae means to Koreans. Enjoying a meal with family and friends, sharing a pot of hot jjigae, has become a practice unique to Korean cuisine. In the past, Koreans would boil leftover party food in one pot and share it with their guests. That was the beginning of jjigae.
So after any special event, like a wedding, a birthday, a family gathering, you'll have all this Hansik left over, which is like chun and japchae. And they say that put a little bit of stock in there, yuksu, and you boil it up. They say that this is the origin of jjigae. And now, they say that we've come from a kuk culture to a jjigae culture now. So then, when did we start eating all this jjigae?
Guk is similar to thin Western soup, but jjigae, derived from guk, is closer to a stew. Up until the 20th century, there was no clear distinction between guk and jjigae. It was only in the middle of the last century that jjigae, which focuses more on the ingredients than on the stock, found its unique place on the Korean table. As Koreans began to leave their hometown for the cities and families shrank in size, the dining culture began to change. Nostalgia for the hometown, mother's homemade meals, and close-knit communities were reflected in jjigae.
In Korea, people share all the foods set on one table. This communal spirit, particularly in cuisine, is best represented by jjigae.
Of these two, can you tell which one is kuk and which one is jjigae? You can tell which one is kuk because with kuk, you always get your own bowl. But with jjigae, it's often brought as a whole pot and shared at the table altogether. And although jjigae as a culinary part of Korea is relatively short, Kimchi Jjigae now is one of the most commonly eaten dishes in Korea.
It is difficult to pinpoint the roots of Kimchi Jjigae, loved by all Koreans. Research suggests that it first appeared in the 15th century when chili peppers were brought into Korea and aged kimchi was cooked into other dishes. There is no one way to make Kimchi Jjigae. Most homes make it with kimchi, pork, and bean curd, known as dubu in Korean. The most common way of preparing it is to stir-fry pork and kimchi before adding water and heat. The jjigae is made complete with dubu. Kimchi jjigae is the perfect example of the versatility of Korean foods, which can be made with a gamut of ingredients. This Kimchi Jjigae restaurant, with only one item on the menu, is packed with customers day and night. The spicy, refreshing Kimchi Jjigae here, made with pork and aged kimchi, needs no other side dishes.
Lunchtime for office workers around the world, it's always been a chance to revitalize, to recharge those batteries. And here in Korea, no dish kickstarts that afternoon energy like Kimchi Jjigae does. But if Kimchi Jjigae has always been here, then Dwenjang Jigae has been right here alongside it.
A bubbling pot of jjigae and a bowl of bap is the quintessential modern Korean meal. Some foods are as much about the sentiments as the taste. Take Dwenjang Jigae, for example. A common dish on countryside dining tables, Dwenjang Jigae is a traditional Korean food that never disappoints. Bubbling hot Dwenjang Jigae alone is enough to complete a meal even without any side dishes. The main ingredients are doenjang, vegetables, dubu, and seafood.
When you think jjigae, you think dukbaegi. And dukbaegi are these earthenware clay pots that so much of Korean cuisine is cooked in. So then, why is the dukbaegi so important to Korean cuisine?
A good jjigae is made in a good pot. And what's a better choice than the dukbaegi? Dukbaegi, which are used to prepare jjigae, are earthen pots made with red clay and coated with lye before they are fired. It is a remnant of pottery of ancient Korea. The jjigae is cooked and served directly in the dukbaegi. The oldest person at the table picks up the spoon first. This dining etiquette reflects Korean traditions that emphasize respect for the elders. The pots, dried and coated with lye, are fired for 12 hours at over 1,300 degrees Celsius.
Korea's dukbaegi are excellent for retaining heat and keeping the food warm for a long time. They emit far infrared rays that maintain the flavor. This is why Koreans like dukbaegi.
Another traditional dukbaegi is born. The dukbaegi, a breathing pot made of clay, is the final ingredient that completes delicious Dwenjang Jigae. Gang Dwenjang Jigae emphasizes the flavor of doenjang more than regular Dwenjang Jigae. It's a relatively new item, prepared in a small tukbegi with more focus on the dwenjang than on the other ingredients. Its flavor is enhanced when mixed with bap.
You know, the way someone eats jjigae, I think it says a lot about them. For instance, I like to take the soup and all this stuff and put it on top of my rice and eat it all together. And other people eat it differently, but my way's the best.
Everyone has his or her way of eating jjigae. Some like to mix it with their bap, while some prefer to have a spoonful of jjigae for every spoonful of bap. Others like to eat it from a separate bowl. Freshwater snail Dwenjang Jigae provides an extra treat. The snails can be eaten in a lettuce wrap or mixed with rice. This variety of Dwenjang Jigae was created when farmers, taking a break after seeding, would gather snails from their paddies and add them to their Dwenjang Jigae. In Korea, freshwater snails have more than just a culinary value.
우렁이가 말했을 리는 없는데 누가 밥을 차려놓았지?
There is even a folk tale about a beautiful woman who emerges from the shell of a freshwater snail and gets married, living happily ever after.
내 색시가 되어주세요.
Freshwater snails are also recommended in Korean Oriental medicine for their nutritional value.
Freshwater snails can alleviate fevers, quench thirst, reduce swelling, and facilitate metabolism.
Freshwater snail Dwenjang Jigae is another food that evokes memories of home-cooked meals. It's a dish imbued with warm sentiments. Another jjigae made with traditional fermented bean paste is Cheonggukjang Jigae. It has a strong odor that not everyone appreciates, but it has gained popularity in recent years because of its nutritional value and detoxifying effects. Cheonggukjang is a food with a long history. In the 7th century, this rich fermented soybean condiment was included in the queen's wedding gifts to the king and his family. According to old texts, the jjigae form appeared in the early 18th century. The process of making Cheonggukjang Jigae is similar to that of Dwenjang Jigae. Ground beef is boiled in a tukbegi, then Cheonggukjang is added, followed by kimchi, dubu, and chopped green onions. Koreans have always enjoyed foods made with beans. Not surprisingly, sundubu jjigae and kongbiji jjigae are almost as popular as Dwenjang Jigae and Cheonggukjang Jigae. Sundubu, which is the initial form of bean curd before the liquid is drained, was first used in jjigae about 30 years ago. Kimchi Jjigae is made by adding pork and cabbage kimchi to ground soaked beans, then seasoning with salted shrimp. The table is set with mouth-watering Kimchi Jjigae and Sundubu Jjigae. Kimchi Jjigae has a clean, subtle taste, while Sundubu Jjigae is savory and spicy. Along with beans, fish is also a favorite ingredient for jjigae. Walleye pollock jjigae is enjoyed in all households. In the past, pollock was so common that even the common folks could eat it every day when food was scarce during the 15th to 19th centuries. Walleye pollock can be grilled or steamed, but the best way to enjoy it at home is to make jjigae with fresh or frozen fish. Sengtae is fresh walleye pollock. Dongtae is defrosted walleye pollock. They each produce a different kind of jjigae. The cool, spicy taste of walleye pollock jjigae depends on the freshness of the fish. The fish is cleaned and boiled with plenty of radish, then spiced up with red pepper paste and red pepper powder. When the jjigae boils, green onions, red peppers, and tubu are added as the final touch. This is a Sengtae Jjigae restaurant located in a market in Seoul. Its jjigae is so delicious that the regulars have been coming back for 20, 30 years.
생선 jjigae, it can differ radically according to its ingredients, the types of fish used, even the household, but they all have one thing in common. They're spicy, refreshing, and it's made it one of Korea's most popular dishes today. Then you have these dishes that are culinary, historical time capsules, whose ingredients are indicative of its cultural context, a radical departure from tradition, and none more so than Budae Jjigae. And let's see what's made this dish, now iconic dish, a wholly 20th century jjigae, what it is today.
Budae Jjigae has its roots in the painful modern history of Korea. During the Korean War, people started making a gochujang-based stew with the ham and sausages brought in by the US military. Times have changed since then. But why is Budae Jjigae still so popular? Especially when, unlike other Korean jjigae, Budae Jjigae is made with processed foods rather than natural ingredients. The secret probably lies in the way in which all ingredients come together to create a tantalizing, spicy experience. Budae Jigae is best enjoyed when it is cooked on the spot. When instant noodles are added, the jjigae alone becomes a complete meal. Other than the processed ingredients, there is no difference in the preparation method for Budae Jigae.
The thing about jjigae is that it's viewed as healthy and wholesome and homey. And then there's Budae Jigae. It's more comfort food. It's quick and easy, and it's definitely used with ingredients that's not Korean. But here's the thing about jjigae, is that it could really be anything that you want. And the thing about Budae Jigae is that you add your stock right here, just like so. And you cook it. And Budae Jigae, it's not the only jjigae that you eat at the table. You also have jeonggol.
Jeonggol is a variation of jjigae similar to a hot pot that is prepared directly at the dining table. It's derived from traditional practices of preparing ingredients and stock in advance and cooking them in front of the guests. Jeonggol originates from a royal court food called shinsolo. Meat, seafood, mushrooms, and vegetables are placed in a jeonggol pot, and the sauces and stock are poured in. Jeonggol is prepared in a big pot, then served to each diner in a separate bowl. At first, it may be difficult to differentiate between jjigae and jeonggol. What are the differences?
So, some of the key differences between some of the soups here in Korea is that with jjigae, it's always cooked in the kitchen and brought to the table, piping hot. Now, on the other hand, over here, we have jeonggol. You add the stock cold. So you first add the stock cold in the kitchen, then you bring it over to the table, and then it's brought to the table where it's cooked at the table. And that's the difference between jjigae and jeonggol. Got it?
Koreans have had jeonggol since the 19th century when the hat-shaped pots first appeared. Until then, meat had been boiled or grilled separately, but the invention of the jeonggol pot allowed Koreans to grill meat while simultaneously making the broth with meat and vegetables. In the late 19th century, jeonggol food became more diverse. Branching out from this is Bulgogi. In Bulgogi jeonggol, the marinated beef is eaten with the vegetables, boiled in the same pot. With a subtle, slightly sweet taste, Bulgogi jeonggol is a classic form of jjigae that builds friendship between the people who share it.
You know, a lot of my expat friends will ask me, why do Koreans eat from a single pot? And it's because of this. It brings the entire family and brings friends around the table. And sure, jjigae, it's not the most glamorous. It's an everyday food, but sure does bring people together.
물 좀 주세요.
Made with kimchi, fermented soybean paste, meat, fish, and vegetables in little water. Jjigae is the perfect complement to a bowl of pap. A balance of flavor and nutrition. Jjigae is a food that represents homemade meals. As well as a food of sharing that brings family and friends together around the table.